Okay, here we come back. Monolithic restorative materials. Monolithic versus layered lecture. This is part two. I'm not going to read all of that. I'm just going to quote from Dr. Greg Helvey. He's a DDS. I think he published this in Glidewell website or in maybe Lab Management Magazine, something like that. But I quoted it a long time ago. Dr. Greg says, as a result, because nature's bilayered tooth structure cannot be replicated, a monolithic approach may be the future. And you know, this is an approach that's really been going around. This approach that Dr. Greg is illustrating here in this paragraph. And many people have started thinking like that. Let's just go for monolithic as the first choice and try to give something with monolithic that will represent since we cannot really replicate nature, so just give a monolithic. You will gain the strength, and you try as much as possible to stain and give it, a lifelike look for that product. We will discuss this further in details. Can we characterize much with monolithic prosthesis? Do you guys think that this is monolithic or this is layered? This was layered, all right, like totally layered, just a core of zirconia and then layered. But we will show cases of real nice monolithics that have zero layering. And then at a certain point of these videos, I will illustrate as well. I will illustrate my own technique, which I called mono-layered, like not monolithic and not layered, but mono-layered, like a combination of both in a certain way that I will discuss. It's my own technique, and I will show many examples of it, and I will give like why did I come up with this, what's the good advantages of it. But before discussing any of that, we have to go into details with the ceramic classifications, with discussing monolithic and layered in details. All right, so just warming up pretty much here. This was the advertising for Processor, more brawn than beauty. All right, now let's keep a couple of things in mind. I'm going to show many tables and many numbers and statistics, and you will see that these numbers are not identical in different studies, and in different tables you will see the same material but with different fluctual strength, because it depends on the testing and everything. But let's keep in mind that the dentine, the natural dentine, is around 300 megapascal of strength, and the enamel is around, let's say, up to 384. For the easiness of remembering these numbers, say 300 for dentin and 400 for enamel megapascals of strength, fluctual strength. All right, so when we compare and start talking about numbers, you would see where do these numbers fall in comparison of enamel and dentin. All right, this is the Empress, the old Empress, 160 megapascal, lithium disilicate around 360 to 400, alumina, Inceram spinel, Inceram alumina, Procera, if you guys remember the older Procera, up to 600, lava, Processor, up to 1200, and we will see, like I said, many numbers from other studies that show different limits. We will take always, think of it as an average, just take the average of it. And where does it fall in the table, So feldspathics are always weaker as a megapascal strength, as a fluctual strength. It's weaker than lucite enforcement, which is Empress and these products, and they're both weaker than lithium disilicate, all right, which is weaker than glass-filled alumina and zirconia. We will discuss all of that in details. The other thing I want to point out, and we will discuss this in details too, but just for you to be warmed up, the stronger the prostheses are, the least light transmission levels that they have. So more translucent usually means weaker prosthesis when we talk about strength, all right, flexural strength specifically. So you're saying more translucent, weaker, less translucent, stronger, all right. That's what this pretty much says. In lucite reinforcement or glass ceramics and lithium disilicates, the bars are really up when you discuss light transmission or translucency. Once you go into zirconia, it starts dropping in, dropping down until we get to high strength zirconia, 3 deuterium stabilized tetragonal zirconia. You're talking about very low light transmission, very low translucency. All right. Now this is just to show what people thought. This is from a dental lab back in America that I quoted this from, just to show you that not much of strength, they assume that not much of strength is needed in the anterior area, 130 megapascal, 265 premolars canines, 585 and above for posteriors. It's just a suggestion. Now let's get into the core of it. Let's say that this is how my mind works. You give me a single unit. First question as a dental technician, I'll ask myself, is it a metal or a metal free? All right. If you say it's a metal, then we can go into details with metal. Is it full metal? In other words, monolithic, or is it PFM, porcelain fused to metal? You see, some of the metals, some of the alloys, you can use for both. So for a full metal, a monolithic, you can use non-precious alloys, semi-precious alloys, precious alloys, and if they are universal or porcelain alloys, you can use them as well for non-precious alloy PFMs, semi-precious alloy PFMs, and precious alloy PFMs. The same alloy, you can use it for both if it's a porcelain alloy, because to apply porcelain you have to have a coefficient of thermal expansion, you know, the right coefficient of thermal expansion. Anyways, so these can be used both. So in other words, monolithic or layered is a technique, as a way of approach. You can use the same material for either monolithic or layered, but not all materials, because electroplating you can only galvanize a single unit, you know, a core, let's say a core, not single, a core. You can galvanize a single unit to a single unit core, all right. And then if it's a bridge, you have to cast the pontic and then solder it and all kind of stuff. But anyways, as a core, it gives you a core. It doesn't give you a full tooth in electroplating. Same thing with adapted gold platinum. If you guys worked with Captic back in America, we worked very much with Captic at a certain part of time. But anyways, if you're gonna discuss non-metal or metal-free, so you're talking about a different set of prostheses. There's a zirconia, for example. Zirconia can be core and build up. It could be core and pressed on, and both of these are layered. They consist of more than one layer, and then it could be a full zircon. And a full zircon used to be the Zolid. We can discuss that. 3 deuterium stabilized tetragonal zirconia. All right, and it could be full translucent zirconia, the newer ones, the 5 deuterium stabilized, and then there's the full multi-layered or the 4 deuterium stabilized. We will discuss all factors and their effect on translucency, all factors and their effect on strength when it comes to zirconia. We're going to discuss zirconia in details. I don't think that one lecture, half an hour, will be enough. I think we will talk about zirconia in 2 different lectures: composition, strength, translucency, etching, printing, all kind of stuff. All right. Same thing when it comes to glass ceramics. There's a full press, which is monolithic, and there's core and build-up, and there's full milling multi-layer. All right, which we stain technique. Same thing. It's milled and this pressed. Both of them are monolithic, whether it's full pressed or it's milled. And then there is the core and build-up. Whether you gain this core from pressing again, or you obtain this core from milling, it's a core and build-up. So it could be layered glass ceramics or monolithic glass ceramics. And then there's hybrid acrylic composite polymer materials, there's temporary materials and all kind of stuff. And usually it's for temporary materials, usually it's monolithic, but you can add to it anyways. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you so we can start talking about monolithics. All right, there's a variety of dental monolithic prostheses exists in today's dentistry. A variety of monolithic prostheses will be discussed in this lectures, especially, like we said, zirconia and lithium disilicates. But zirconia and lithium disilicate we will discuss in details. Before that, we will just talk about a couple of other monolithics. First monolithic that should come to your mind is metal and gold alloys, because they've been around for a long time. It's just a full cast. We call it a full cast. Now the numbers of full casts in America dropped down because people used to do number 7 and sometimes number 6 in a full gold. There's minimum occlusal clearance, all kind of stuff, so they go with monolithic gold or monolithic semi-precious. These days the market is changing, and I have a study, not just a study, I have a PDF actually from Glidewell as well, that shows you numbers of the market drivers and how much prostheses are made, and the percentage of removable, the percentage of fixed, percentage of implants, and the growth, and what's expected in the future. It's very beneficial to look at. We will look at it at the end of this lecture, hopefully. So like we said, there is monolithic alloys, but since we're talking about monolithic alloys and gold monolithics, we can take a look at this too. Custom design order sheet for grills. You guys know the grills, right? You can take an impression for it, you can work with it on a specific given numbers, or you can just do a snap on, let's say, gold, one that fits all, and adjust it. I don't know how it's made, but it goes in the mouth. And let's just walk through how to become a great gold monolithic practitioner, just to look at it. First, you go to school, obviously, student, instructor, right? Then you do your training. That's a trainee right there. And you become a specialist. You see, it even says so, gold teeth specialist. I don't know if there is a license for it or not, but it's just, I found these photos and I think it's interesting. All right, you open your own practice. Your mama be like, I am so proud of you. All right, and then there's these called clip-on laterals. All right, you guys probably saw it on actors, actresses. You become your own boss. You advertise. You hit the market. Give discounts. Be the man. You target celebrities to grill or not to grill. There's Madonna, Beyonce, Rihanna, Miley Cyrus. Oh no. It becomes a trend. It really does. Then it becomes a culture. Kids keep me young. That's Karate Kid. Alright, he got his mother grills. And then look, quarter machines give you grills. You create your own trademark. Become rich, hopefully, if you go down this lane. And then finally, you just contract with me to give lectures about monolithic dental grills and, what kind of hygienic should be taken care of from A to Z. But anyways, we were talking about monolithic alloys, all right? That was the first monolithic that I wanted to discuss, alloy and gold monolithics. And let me show you this example. Now, here we have a 3-unit bridge. This is a 75% gold. It's a porcelain gold. So here we didn't have enough occlusal space or enough reduction. So we did this into monolithic number 7 gold, 75%. But it's connected to a coping. This is a coping, pontic, an abutment core. All right. And we build the porcelain on top of it. So this bridge is both monolithic and layered. Number 5 and 6 are layered. Number 7 is monolithic. So it's just the way it is. Sometimes we get asked to do this, like a monolithic or a full cast with buccal cutback, and we apply porcelain buccally. All right. Some people still call it monolithic, but they specify that it's a monolithic or a full cast with buccal cutback, and then we apply porcelain on top of it. Anyway, there's acrylic resin lab fabricated prosthesis. That's the second kind of monolithic types. It's not really our concern here, but I want you to know that it comes in as a technique, as a fabrication technique. It could be cured, CAD cammed, or milled, or printed these days, all right? See, this is a block you can mill from it, all right? Now, there's these two. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like acrylic shells, like the ones that go on top of, like the fingernails, acrylic shells, but I guess some people use it in the mouth and glue it somehow. I've seen this somewhere. All right, there's snap-on smiles monolithics. In certain areas, this is, it's just a removable smile, all right? So in certain parts of the world, it's famous. It's like for Cajuns. It's milled, pressed, or vacuum formed. This one was vacuum formed, all right, just like the bleaching tray or the soft bleaching tray or the soft night guard. You just press it, vacuum press it, all right. It's vacuum formed. You can use it for implant provisionals, removable partial dentures. Most people use it for aesthetic smile enhancement for certain occasions, all right. It's like a cheap solutions. Now we get into the real stuff. Number 4 of our monolithic types is high glass porcelain monolithics or ceramic blocks. It's a block that you mill from this block a single unit of monolithic prosthesis. All right. Now, an example for that would be a Mark II from Vita, GC Initial, an IPS Impress block. Those are of a high glass content. Like I said, we will talk in details about ceramic classifications. There's many classifications out there. People study ceramics and classified them in many different ways. Even famous names, Dr. Edward McLaren, Zhu Yang. We're gonna mention many famous names and what they think about ceramic classifications. All right. But pretty much now, since we're talking about monolithics, this is as far as I want you to know. Now, a high glass porcelain monolithic. It's full of glass, translucency is high, but it's breakable because it's glass and it's not very strong. Now, number 5 is composite resin monolithics, not to be confused with high glass porcelains. They're both blocks, they're both milled, all right, and gives you a final product of a monolithic crown. But those are totally different. Composite resin monolithics like Paradigm, MZ100, Lava Ultimate, Sierra Smart, Brilliant, Krios, and Vita Inamic. And we will talk about these composite resin monolithics. Let's take Lava Ultimate as an example. Lava Ultimate was very famous in a certain time in America. It's like the long temporary crown, or let's say the one-day crown, all right? Now, what kind of specifications do we know about this kind of prosthesis? Lava Ultimate, for example, it's a blend of nanoparticles, all right, in a polymer matrix. Now, it has a very easy clinical finishing and polishing. The strength, surface, surface gloss and finish retention similar to composite materials, and pretty much you use it just like you use composites. Dentists are very familiar with using composites. You just polish it with a polishing sequence. I think that what I read, that the best sequence is Shofu polishing sequence. Now, flexure strength for these are about 200 megapascal, which is really much higher than ceramic blocks that we discussed in monolithic type 4, which is high ceramic blocks. They're around 120 to 160 megapascal. This gives you 200 megapascal actually of strength. So it's even stronger than the feldspathic and lucite reinforcement porcelain blocks, as well as veneering porcelains for PFM crowns, just the veneering part, the porcelain part of the PFM. All right. Only long-term clinical evaluation will confirm this desirable property of the material. Now, for example, this has more crack resistance than adhesively bonded Vita Mark II porcelain crown, which is type 4, which is a high glass ceramic. So this is stronger or has more crack resistance than the Mark II. Now, no glass component that can be dissolved by the acid. That means there's no point of etching such a monolithic prosthesis. Even if it says in the continent that it has a little bit of a glass, or it has, but the cluster, the matrix itself is composite, so there's no point of not enough glass to be etched. Let's put it that way. So chemical etching doesn't apply to this, but you can mechanically etch it by aeropraging or sandblasting. All right. Now it absorbs more stress rather than immediately fractured because it's more of a composite. You think of it as a composite material, not as of a high glass material. Anyways, now can we add porcelain to it, to the composite resin monolithics? Nope, we can't add porcelain to it. It's composite. All right. How could we glaze it? You polish it. You don't glaze it in the furnace. Can you fabricate multiple unit bridges out of it? No, it's the indication of it is a single unit. All right. Let's take Vita Inamic for example. That's the Vita Inamic. It's around 160 of megapascal of strength. All right. See 150 to 160. That's the flexural strength. Of course, you can't and you should not place it in the furnace. It will melt. It's a composite. All right. Now we get into the real stuff, the lithium disilicate monolithics and the zirconia monolithics. All right. Lithium disilicates. It's a glass ceramic, the newer version of IPS Impress 1. Now it was developed into IPS Impress 2 by the addition of aluminosilicate glass that has lithium oxide added to it. In other words, there's many kinds of lithium disilicates. I put a list of what I know, what I worked with, but there's many and much more in the market. Mostly what people know is the Emax. And the term Emax is not very accurate because even Ivoclar Vivadent call other products Emax, and we will see in this lecture. So there is IPS Emax Zircad. Zircad means zirconia, so they call the zirconia block Emax as well. All right, and that created confusion, honestly, especially in this region of the world. Like Emax, you can mill Emax. Isn't Emax lithium disilicate? No, they use the term Emax even for Zircad, which is the zirconia blocks that we mill, and it's a zirconium, zirconium block. So in other words, we're not going to use the word Emax, we're going to use the word lithium disilicates. All right, and then when it comes to Ivoclar Vivadent, we will call it Emax Press or Emax Mill. But once we say Emax Zircad, then we're talking about zirconia. That's a different issue. All right. So these are some of the products that I use here in the lab. Levinto Press, Emax Press or machined, GC Press, and there's GC machined, Vita machined, CAD-CAMmed, Creation pressed, Ceramco pressed, and then there is Haas Press and machined. Now Haas is the only company that, or the first company, I don't know if there's any other companies that came up with the same block, but Haas is the first full-size lithium disilicate block. It looks like this. That's the Haas block. So instead of milling a small single unit blocks, this block can give you only a single unit if you want to adhere to the standards, because I've seen people milling more than one unit. When it comes to veneers, they put the veneer in a certain angulation where they save the other half of the block and they mill another veneer from the same block. But it's it's tricky and it could break and stuff like that. But anyways, this is a single unit block. Has came up with this large size block, fits in the CAD/CAM machine, and you can mill multi-units. You can mill many units out of this block, just like the zirconium block. I don't know if there's any other company that came up with this large size disc, or CAD/CAM size disc, but Has did in 2014, I think. When you talk about lithium disilicates, each company, like we said about Has, they give you, they have their unique product. This product, the breakthrough, the big CAD/CAM block. All right. Same thing with other companies. I use this company. It's from Switzerland, CM. CM has a Levinto press. Levinto press comes in LT, MT, HT. They come in many. High translucent, medium translucent, low translucent. I usually use low translucent for a better masking, and then I can layer on top of it. But they have this. What is ET1? ET1 is enamel translucent 1. It assumes that if you only remove, say for example, 0.2 of the enamel, 0.3, you're still in the enamel layer. Why would you press a dentine color? Why would you press LTA1, for example, or even HTA1? Because you're given a color. You're giving a dentine color or a pigment, which is A1. But what you really removed or prepped from the tooth was only the enamel layer. So they suggest that you should use enamel. There is enamel translucent 1, enamel translucent 2. Everyone has its indications with which tabs of the shade guide does it go with, but it's a brilliant idea, because you're using whatever you reduced, whatever you prepped only. You prepped enamel, so you are substituting that with enamel press, or with enamel ingot, not with dentine ingot. All right. So every company has its own, breakthrough, and some companies don't even adhere to the shade guide exactly. They have the shade guide exactly. They have, like, for example, LTA range, and then there is MTB1 range, and I have ingots of B0, and I have ingots from CM B0 and A0. It's just because many people have this issue with BL4. They think that BL4, there's a gap. BL4, there's a gap between B1, for example, and BL4. BL4 is kind of dull. It is bleach, but it's not a good looking bleach. So people try to squeeze something in between B1 or A1 and BL4. So they managed to squeeze B0 and A0 as blocks in CM and other companies as well. So you have to know what to use and where, Anyway, now we come to zirconia. This recording is half an hour already. I will stop here because zirconia is very long. I think we need more than one lecture to discuss zirconia, types of zirconia, forms of zirconia, specifications of zirconia, physical properties, translucency, sintering, and all kinds of related issues to zirconia. So zirconia is pretty long. I would start it in the third recording. Let's just seal the deal for this part of the lecture. Thank you for listening. I'll be with you in the third part. Thanks.